Okay, strap yourselves in because this deep dive is taking us straight into some seriously murky waters.
Hmm.
We're talking sunken submarines, international intrigue, the whole shebang.
Yeah, high stakes for sure.
We're diving headfirst into these reports about a possible sunken Chinese nuclear submarine. And let me tell you, the potential fallout here is huge.
It really is a fascinating situation, and it's got all these layers to it. You've
Mm.
got China's military ambitions, how the rest of the world sees them, and then, of course, you can't forget about the environmental risks.
Right, exactly. So let's just jump right in. Our main source today is this Reuters report,
Right.
and they're citing a senior U.S. defense official, someone who should know what they're talking about, and they're claiming that China's newest nuclear attack submarine, brand spanking new, sank earlier this year. Yeah, and it gets even crazier. This allegedly all went down sometime between May and June at the Wuchang shipyard. But get this. The report claims China did everything they could to keep this whole thing hush-hush.
Now, if that's true, that's a pretty big deal. The fact that we're talking about a first-in-class submarine, meaning it's the very first one they built with this design, well, it raises some serious red flags. Makes you wonder if maybe China's been pushing their navy to expand too quickly and sacrificing quality along the way.
And this isn't just about, a few extra ships. We're talking about China's ambition to build the biggest, baddest navy the world has ever seen, right?
Right.
They've been boasting about having over 370 ships, a whole new generation of nuclear-armed submarines.
Right.
And this incident, if it's true, it kind of throws a wrench in that whole narrative.
It does make you think twice about that whole quality over quantity argument, doesn't it? I mean, remember back in 2021 when China was bragging about their 355 ships?
Oh, yeah.
The U.S., they openly questioned just how good those ships actually were. And, this incident, if it's legit, it lends some weight to those doubts.
It definitely casts doubt on those bold claims that China has a military that's the best of the best, especially when you consider their submarine force, which they were planning to seriously beef up by 2035. Now, this whole sinking thing, it makes you wonder just how reliable and capable their naval technology really is.
It really does. And the fact that there are these whispers of a cover-up, that just throws gasoline on the fire. Because if China really is trying that hard to sweep this whole incident under the rug, it speaks volumes about what matters most to them. Image control, above
Well,
all else.
makes you think, what else is going on beneath the surface, literally and figuratively?
Right. And it brings up this whole other issue, which is China's iron grip on information, what their people know and what the rest of the world knows. This whole submarine situation, if it's true, just highlights how far they'll go to maintain this very specific image, even if it means burying potentially damaging information.
That's wild, that whole thing about information control, because, our second source, that's actually where they really dig into that whole thing, saying China was allegedly scrambling to bury this whole submarine story. And then they go on to say that some hotshot economist just disappeared, vanished, after made some, I guess, not so nice comments about China's economy in private. I mean, are we seeing that level of control here?
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me in the least. It fits right in with, unfortunately, their track record. They've got this whole history of keeping a tight lid on information, what people inside the country see and hear, and definitely what gets out to the rest of us.
Yeah.
And we have to remember, this is a country where anything digital, news, social media, it's all constantly watched and filtered. You rarely see anything about China, in the media especially, that isn't, carefully shaped by the government.
So it's like they're showing the world this perfectly polished, picture of themselves. No cracks, no flaws, no way, certainly no sunken submarines. But then something like this happens and boom, the facade crumbles.
Exactly. And it just goes to show you the flaw in that plan. You can try to control the story, but eventually something's got to give.
Yeah.
The truth has a way of wriggling out, even if it's just bits and pieces.
And I bet when it does, and it totally contradicts everything they've been saying, that's got to hurt even more.
Yeah.
Especially these days where everyone's online and connected.
Oh, absolutely. With the internet like it is now, governments, they can try to keep a lid on things, but it's like playing whack-a-mole. There'll always be leaks or people speaking out or just, regular people sharing information completely outside of the official channels.
You have to wonder, how long can they really keep this up, this whole information lockdown?
$1 million question, right. The
Yeah.
world's just getting more and more connected. It's getting harder and harder to hold information back. It'll be interesting to see if China can adapt, or if they even try.
Fascinating. So we've got this possible submarine incident, then the whole alleged cover-up, and then on top of everything, this whole other issue about how China deals with information in general. It's crazy. But you know what? This whole thing, this whole sunken sub thing, it got me thinking about that other submarine incident a while back, but with Russia this time. You remember that one? The K-15 nuclear submarine
Hmm.
sank back in 2000.
The K-15, yeah, that was a real tragedy. It brought the whole nuclear safety and transparency issue into the spotlight, just like this situation.
Exactly. But I feel like there's a key difference here, isn't there? If I'm remembering right, Russia was much more upfront about it. Eventually, anyway.
You're spot on about that. Being upfront about something like that is completely different from, being the one to tell everyone in the first place. And yeah, Russia, they might not have exactly rushed to make a big announcement about the K-15 sinking, but they did at least acknowledge it. This China situation, though, it seems like they're doing everything they can to just make it disappear.
It's a huge difference, right? How each country handled the information. Like, it says a lot about them, their approaches to taking responsibility, and maybe even how they want the world to see them.
Without a doubt. Russia, as secretive as they can be, they have, at times, been willing to own up to things, maybe to hold on to some credibility. China, on the other hand, it's like image is everything.
But that lack of transparency, that's got to backfire at some point, don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, if a country gets a reputation for hiding the truth all the time, it's going to be tough to build trust, both with their own people and with the rest of the world.
Exactly. It eats away at trust, makes everyone suspicious. And speaking of suspicion on the world stage, that second source of ours mentioned something pretty interesting about India and a certain rumor about one of their submarines.
Hold on, you were saying something about India and a submarine rumor. What was that about?
Oh, yeah, right. So, in the middle of all this China stuff, our second source mentions this rumor that's going around about an Indian submarine. Apparently, it was damaged because, are you ready for this? Someone left a door open.
What?
I know, right? It sounds crazy. But the source seems to think it's fake, probably some disinformation spread by Pakistan.
Wow, a submarine door left open. Sounds like something straight out of a movie.
Yeah.
But I guess that's kind of the point, right? In this world of international relations and all that, a good story, even if it's totally made up, can be a powerful weapon, especially when you've got two countries that are already kind of on edge with each other.
Exactly. This whole thing with the rumor, it shows just how easily disinformation can be used to stir the pot, get people riled up. It's a good reminder that we can't just believe everything we hear, especially when it comes to this kind of stuff, geopolitics and all that.
Yeah, for sure. So how do we even know what to believe these days? How do we cut through all the noise, all the cover-ups and the fake news, and get to the truth?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? You got to be a critical thinker, that's for sure. Question everything, think about who's telling you something and what their angle might be. And most importantly, look for more information from different sources you trust. Don't just accept something because it sounds juicy or because it fits in with what you already believe.
Solid advice. It's a crazy world out there. Well, I think we've gone about deep as we can go on this one. We started with this report about a sunken Chinese sub, which then took us down this whole other path about their military goals, their interesting relationship with the truth. And we even ended up talking about potential disinformation with that whole Indian submarine thing. What a ride.
It really goes to show you one thing leads to another, and it all connects somehow. What might seem like an isolated incident can tell you a lot about a country, what their priorities are, how they view the truth, and how hard it is these days to control your image when the whole world is watching.
It really does. And it seems like, if anything, we've just got more questions now than we did when we started. Will China ever actually address this submarine situation?
Yeah.
Will this whole thing make them rethink how they handle information?
Yeah.
Or will they just, clamp down even harder? I guess we'll have to wait and see.
One thing's for sure, this whole thing has stirred up some serious waves.
No doubt. And it'll be interesting to see what washes ashore. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. It's been quite a journey, hasn't it? Remember, folks, the truth is out there, but sometimes you really got to dig deep to find it.